high knees, high knees. Real calisthenics. Brittany Automotive Calisthenics.
What is up, you guys, and welcome back to Brittany Automotive. It is a cold day in here in Kentucky, but we have got to get started on that block so we can get it in the car and be ready for next season. Before we go anywhere, I want to thank my sponsors, Heatwave, Motul, BTR, Menser, and Heatwave. And I'm going to explain the difference between honing a block and dingle ball honing a block. Although they sound the same, they don't necessarily do the same thing always. So what we're going to be doing is dingle ball honing, and if you look into the block, the bore, you can see a bunch of little scratches. But if you feel it, it's smooth. You can't actually feel them with your fingers. What those little tiny scratches are doing is they're holding oil. So just like your cylinder head or anything else that needs a gasket, that's holding in the oil. Your oil is the gasket inside the bore for your piston ring. So when your piston goes in there, your rings are around it. The oil is what seals the gap there. And why you have to seal that is so that when the piston comes up and compression is built, it can do the 4-stroke cycle like it's supposed to. If you don't have that, you'll have a couple issues. You won't be able to hit compression as much as you want, and your car will just be slower. And so you have to have a good seal in between the ring and the bore, and your seal is the oil. So those little scratches are holding oil for you, and they can be smaller, they can be bigger, kind of depends. A lot of alcohol cars, like Top Fuel and stuff like that, they run more fuel, so they need deeper scratches so that it holds more oil. Because the more fuel is washing all that oil out, they need more oil. This right here is what a dingle ball hone looks like. I will give you a close-up. It's a bunch of little balls on some wire, and this is just gonna like touch the surface. That's all it's really gonna do. It's very light. It's not gonna change your bore size or anything like that. It's definitely not as aggressive as actually honing a block. So when you hone a block, that's a whole different ball game, and I am actually going to tag a video down below that explains it very, very well. It's actually how I kind of learned what it was doing specifically, and they can explain it so much better than I can because they're the professionals. So I'm gonna leave that up to them, but I will explain a little bit from what I understand. When you hone a block, you're either changing the bore size or you need deeper scratches. So what you're doing is you're taking giant stones, just like the flex hone, dingle ball hone, it has tiny balls on the end of it that are gonna scratch something, but these stones are a lot more aggressive. They're gonna take a lot more metal out. So to explain the visual that I'm gonna give you, let's say your bore, the side of your bore is a zigzag. So you have this zigzag, and that is what the side of your bore is. Those zigzags kind of represent the scratches that you're gonna put in. You have RVK and RPK. RPK is your peak height, and RVK is your valley depth. RVK is kind of how deep those scratches are, and RPK is how tall those scratches are, I believe. So if I said that wrong, go watch that video. Another thing that the hone will do that dingle ball honing will not do is on those scratches, when the hone is done, it'll finish off the bore with a lighter stone, and what that does is it cuts off the edge of those scratches. So when we dingle ball hone it, that's not gonna happen. When you typically dingle ball hone, the piston rings are gonna do that anyways. They would do that anyways if you honed a block. So you can just throw a piston in there, and as it cycles through, it's gonna wear that off and it's gonna be fine. That's what a lot of people do. A lot of people dingle hone blocks. A lot of people dingle ball hone blocks quite often. So that's not gonna hurt anything. It's simply the rings are just gonna cut it off for you, but the hone actually does it itself when you're using the machine. So basically, that's the extent of what I have had to learn about a hone, and most of the time you're going to send it off to somebody to hone it. It's not an easy application to do, and like I said, the professionals, I will show you those down below, and you guys can go watch that if you really, really want to get into it. They'll tell you the tools to use and all that stuff. But yeah, today we are going to dingle ball hone a block, which is kind of a lot more easy, and you can mess something up, but you can't mess it up to an extent that something bad's gonna happen. So let's go do it. What's up, you guys? So I got a bunch of new lights in my shop, which is really exciting because that means even better lighting for you guys. And I want to show you something on this block really quick. There's these little things that just help get oil into the bore quicker, to the piston, and I got to take those out before we hone the block. obviously, because they're in the way. These are a lot tighter than I expected. Like you. I'm gonna race car. Oh my goodness gracious. Now what we're going to do is spray each cylinder hole with WD-40, and then we are going to go back in and start honing, and I will kind of show you how to do that. So I will show you the speed that I'm actually going to do this at. Not super fast, and all I'm going to do is go down and up and count how many strokes so I can do it on the same on all of them, and then I will show you what the difference looks like.
See that? New merch?
It is not, don't say that.
Sorry, not new merch. Unreleased merch.
Alright, so that is how you hone a block, and that's dingle ball honing, not honing. So I'm going to leave that video down below on how the professionals explain honing a block and how all that goes into it, because I've never done it, so I really have no place to teach it because I don't understand it fully myself. So go learn from the professionals on that. But dingle ball honing can happen at home, super easy, super simple, and you're just freshening up a motor. So thank you guys for watching. Huge shout out to all of you for watching, and huge shout out to my sponsors. I will see you guys next week.